the hour, and global markets have turned higher as the European Union proposed more economic stimulus. U.S.-Chinese tensions over Hong Kong keeping some investors on edge. Here at home, markets finishing higher yesterday as the U.S. gradually begins to reopen its economy, but there's somewhat of a patchwork going on. Let's bring in our regular guest, two-time Emmy Award-winning TV producer, marketing and branding expert for Fortune 500 companies, and as a manager, he built the Steve Harvey Media brand. He joins me each week to discuss money-making conversations. Let's welcome in Rashawn McDonald. Good. What's today, Rashawn? Wednesday? Good Wednesday morning.
It is Wednesday, but the country is still confused. State-by-state regulations don't make sense to anybody but the people who make the regulations. But I'm happy to be on the show to try to bring some sense to the nonsense that we deal with and live with every day.
Well, let's hash it out because there is, as I mentioned at the top, there's somewhat of a patchwork. We know that it was punted to governors to make decisions. Some governors have punted to local officials to make those decisions. What are we to believe here about businesses staying open and closed, Rashawn?
Well, businesses are starting to open, but this weekend was clear evidence that people do not believe that the virus will affect them. They have become tone deaf and blind to COVID-19 information that they're getting from the media. Matt, as the states reopen, restaurants, shopping malls, gyms, and salons show that wearing a facial mask has become a hot button, and it's based on the confusing state-by-state guidelines. For instance, you can social distance in a massage parlor, but you cannot open a church. You can't shop in Costco without a mask, but you can go in Kroger's any day of the week and grocery shop without a mask. Courts in the state of Wisconsin say you cannot restrict business during a pandemic. This is crazy. This is what we're dealing with because White House is not providing us guidelines. State and local governments are not providing us clear and consistent guidelines. Thus, people are out there on the news just gallivanting, not thinking there is a virus, not understanding that the death count is near 100,000 due to the COVID-19. So these guidelines, as they continue to be thrown back to the states, be thrown back to the local government, it causes confusion. And as businesses open up, they're starting to set their own rules. Some of them getting busted because a lot of restaurants in the city of Atlanta were having their waiting staff and their shelves behind in the kitchen operating without masks. So the confusion is really, if you see people walking around the streets without masks, you think you can do in your place of business, and that is not the case.
Yeah, definitely not the case. So what is it? I mean, Rashawn, you're a business owner. Talk about that for a minute. You have these people walking into Costco without masks. They're walking into these businesses that require masks, and they're filming themselves saying it's a free country. Well, last time I checked, when you walked into a business, you are supposed to follow that business's rules.
Well, let's be honest with you. I got to go to the top. I see President Donald Trump. He goes to Ford factory. In public, he's not wearing a mask. Behind the scenes, he's wearing a mask. Mm-hmm. That's not fair. You have the Vice President Pence. He's not wearing a mask. Then when two people in the White House get the virus, then suddenly he has a mask on. Inconsistency. You have Republican governors. It's become a political mishmash in our economics that we're trying to get this country reopened. And for a fact, Matt, that I'm in favor of the country reopening, but I'm not in favor of the way it's reopening. And a clear example is how they're handling these stimulus payments. Now, we all know the stimulus payments went out, right? But if you didn't have a bank account, you couldn't get a check, all right? Yeah. Then they came back with this economic card, the EIP. I don't know if you've heard of this card. This card is going out, and it's a great idea because if you don't have a bank account, you can use this Visa debit card. But here's the problem. If you didn't file your taxes, if they were not serviced by Austin, Texas, or Andover, Massachusetts, you won't qualify for the EIP card, which is really ridiculous. So that means that we still have people out there way no money, desperately trying to move their lives forward because we've been shut down by the COVID-19, and we can't get our stimulus check because we don't have a bank account, and we can't participate in the economic payment card because of the fact that we didn't get our taxes filed in Andover, Massachusetts, or Austin, Texas.
And as you noted earlier, those two centers, I mean, they process returns from across the country, several states. So you're talking about a lot of people that aren't getting the cards.
Well, absolutely. Here's the states that those two services process. Not all 50 states, by the way. Florida, Louisiana, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Mississippi, New Hampshire, Oklahoma, Texas, and Vermont. The rest of the states will not participate in the economic impact payment call. But I do have some good news I do have a 1-800 number now that you can call. Because, last week I was on the show, I was saying you can't text the IRS, you can't email the IRS, and you can't call. Well, you have a number you can call now. I'm going to give it to you right now. It's 1-800-919-9835. That's 1-800-919-9835. So as a business owner, I'm frustrated because I'm intimidated by the fact that you can go in Kroger's without a mask. You can't go in Kroger's with you have to have a mask. Because as soon as you walk in, Costco, they're going to give you a mask. They're going to give you a mask. And so because of these differing opinions and thoughts and saying, this is my country, I don't want to, but we have a health issue that's going on. It's a pandemic that's going on. We have to understand that it's not about your rights. It's about protecting the health, not only of yourself, but your fellow neighbors. And people are resisting this, and it's not fair. They're falling into the Second Amendment, the right to have guns, freedom of speech. All that has nothing to do when you're dealing with a health crisis. And businesses are falling aside. Some businesses are not open because they didn't qualify for the small business loan. Some businesses are not unopened because they didn't qualify for the PPP program. So I just know that I'm waiting on the country to reopen fully so you can really, really find out where the economic lands lie for the opportunities for us to move forward as a country. Right now, Matt, we're confused because our leaders at the White House, at the state, and the local government are in a political battle to tell us how to protect ourselves and how we can move forward. So they playing a game with information saying there's a vaccine out there. I don't know if that's true, but it comes on the news every day telling us false hope. So when you tell people false hope, guess what they're going to do? They're going to resist wearing a mask, Matt. They're going to resist it.
Yeah, I will note at the White House news conference yesterday, President Trump, on protecting seniors, did accuse a reporter of trying to be politically correct for wearing a mask. And when Jeff Mason, Reuters reporter, said, I'm not going to take it off, but I'll speak louder, as the president asked him to take it off, he said, you're trying to be politically correct. Well, moments earlier, he said he was not making fun of Joe Biden when he retweeted a tweet showing Joe Biden in a mask. Biden said he's setting an example. So there's too much misinformation out there, and it's not consistent. It's not standard. What people need to know is these masks are intended to protect others from you. You may be asymptomatic. That's right. That's the reason for the mask. That's it. So I can protect you, Rashawn, and your grandmother and your mother. And it has nothing to do with politics. Nothing.
It does, but it is politics, and that's the tragic part of this game. Dude, I'm looking at Nightline last night, and they did a story about, are masks necessary? I'm going, are you kidding me? How could this be a story? Just to hear that being questioned by a major news outlet like ABC or Nightline always puts the air of doubt in people who don't want to participate. I'm as stubborn as the next person, Matt. I really am. But I also am respectful to the process of saying this is the truth. Nearly 100,000 people have died. Over 1 million people have the virus. Brazil is the only country behind us with the most infected people in the world. Come on now. Wake up, America. The truth is, this is not fake news. Donald Trump won his election on fake news. Now he's suffering the consequences because the virus in certain people's eyes is fake news, and that's not fair.
Rashawn, we're up against it. Let's continue this next week. Let's continue this next week.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
All right. And all of the conversations with Rashawn McDonald, the Money Making Conversation segments, are uploaded to YouTube on his Money Making Conversations channel. More breaking news on the way on this Wednesday morning. It is the 27th day of May. You're listening to America's First News.